saying is someone's still gonna win, and it might be weak. If just
I know
half the field, if just about half the field is playing badly, with golf, you can easily say, oh, the course must be hard. They're all playing bad. You know what I mean? It all kind of comes back to earth a little bit.
Sergio has been like, I can't wait to leave this place. Rah, 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 rah.
Yeah. And welcome Tuesday night, Divots and Pivots, the same place you can always find us fine two gentlemen, and we love to have you here with us. It's Thanksgiving week. I don't know about you guys, but I'm clocked out for the week. Happy to be there. I don't have to go back to work until Monday, and I am excited. How are you, bud? Welcome in to Divots and Pivots.
I was excited until you reminded me that I have to wake up and go to work in the morning. And I mean, until that moment, I was in a great mood, man. I was like, we're going to talk some live gossip that's not gossip. We're going to get into some football, a lot of football, yes. Because the PGA Tour essentially takes a pause. I know Tiger's Hero World Challenge Tour event. It comes up right after the holidays, December 1st. Yep. I think it's that weekend. And the big news coming out of there was Tiger's not going to use a cart, I guess. And this is, it's a very, 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 very big world out there. So it's hard to get going for that kind of news.
Did you see he just got his nice little $15 million reward too?
Yeah, for being the needle. I think in the next iteration of PGA Tour, this PIP thing, it was almost like how in the late 80s, early 90s, Jordan was going on a run there, and it's like, all right, the MVP race, okay, but who other than Jordan? And he was almost getting dinged, like in college football for a while, the voters are like, okay, but who else but Alabama? That's kind of why the playoff was created. So I don't know. I think there's some layers to that where is it, when your whole mantra is how much impact / influence are you having on the culture of golf, i.e., but as measured through social media engagement, it's not a fair fight. It's one person's going to win every time, and so I almost think in the next iteration of the tour, Tiger gets a bonus for maintaining this level of engagement interaction, and then take this PIP money and send it somewhere else. But that's how little is going on in the golf world. We're sitting here talking about Tiger's PIP, which it's better than other things that we've talked about Tiger. And
it is Thanksgiving week. The World Cup's on. We have a full slate of football. We should be talking about other things than golf right now. I am
unapologetically, actually, real pause. Real pause.
Yes, this is a fake pause.
Fake pause. Real quick. So Hero World Challenge comes back in a couple weeks. Yes. I think the DP race for Rolex, whatever, just finished. Rory might have won it again. I don't know. But the real kind of moral of the story is nobody gives a shit until the Tiger, Rory, Justin, and Jordan match that's coming up in a couple weeks, or it might be this weekend. I have no clue. And until January comes and we're back out in Hawaii, I don't know how deep into the golf we're going to get over the next month, unless something big comes up with Liv. Oh, sorry, wrong side. And unless something comes up big with Liv to talk about, or I don't know, we find out that Justin Thomas is secretly be on steroids this whole time and he's going to be suspended. Something like that would have to bring me back to talk about golf, because I live in a cold weather climate, and I'm already sick of seeing my buddies down south talking about the golf that they're still playing. I'm getting text messages from my dad talking about 77 and the sunny. Gonna have to break out a sweater here towards the end, though. Might break. I'm like, oh god.
Oh yeah. It is December 10th, by the way. And quick shout out over to the guys over at TSS Fantasy. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Check them out right after our show, actually 9:00 on YouTube, TSS Fantasy. You'll also be able to catch my fine, sophisticated self there from my sophistication station waiver wires of the week. So get over there right after the show, 9:00. You're already on YouTube. Just slide on over. It's that easy. Check them out.
So
sorry.
Continue. What are you sorry about? There's nothing to continue. I was riding right off the rails. I went right from Tiger's PIP to God knows where that was going. Point is,
there's so much other show riding off the rails between the two of us.
Riding off the rails. Yeah. Yes, I saw that Tiger won the PIP again, and I could even have details of that wrong. Point is, it doesn't make my
That's
socks
pretty
roll
much
up
the
and
only
down.
detail.
Yeah,
That's all you need to know.
More money, more problems. There are some cool things going on that we'll probably end up digging into in the new year once they come to fruition. Stuff like, or not even come to fruition once they have more time to digest and they're more relevant. Stuff like there's new spots created for PGA Tour cards for the college ranks. We talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
How is PGA Tour going to keep up with LIV and attracting talent? When I'm 19, I'm a +7 handicap. I'm the starter on a Power 5 conference team. I can either grind for 10 years and maybe make it, or I can take this $5 million right here and know that I'm off to a good start. And who knows, maybe this whole thing will get sorted out between the LIV and the PGA Tour. To battle that, they are kind of offering up, hey, you want to skip the line? If you finish high enough in these PGA Tour U rankings, come on in. Or I don't know exactly how it's going, but they are targeting the college golfer, which I think is a smart move, especially now that with name, image, and likeness, all bets are off. You want to be, I mean, one of the big things for these young, especially golfers, man, it takes reps. If you're not 100% sure you can go out there and compete at this level, but I'm a well-known, established, maybe I won the US Junior Amateur, or maybe I'm a TikTok golf star, right? And I'm like, damn it, I'm going to try to give a go at this. I've already got 5 million followers. So, hey, what Division I program? I'm a good golfer. I've got some credentials. Maybe I was a junior golfer, 5 million followers. What Division I program wants, it's kind of like the scene from Blue Chips. What is the price going for a nice, young, healthy, strapping, don't get into any trouble, do my, Colin Morikawa stayed in school for 4 years because he wanted a business degree. I mean, I think like Jordan Spieth went to the University of Texas and then he turned pro at 20. If you've got $1 million coming in, what's to stop you from saying, I'm 20 years old, it's Austin, Texas. I'm sticking around for 2 more years. I get that there's the allure to actually go compete, but now that the money game has changed, I think it's going to go some interesting places for these more independent sports like tennis and golf, even gymnastics to an extent with Olivia. I don't know if you know who Livy Dunn is. Blonde. So she's one of the, she's a name, image, and likeness person who is a blonde gymnast from LSU. Okay. So cute young lady who posts pictures of herself in her gymnastics leotards. And then that led to more exposure, which led to, she's a social media influencer, man. People give her money and she models for them. Anyway, she's come on.
So that's all you have to do is put on a leotard?
You do. Yes, you do. Nobody wants to see me in the leotard, but she's a perfect prime example. And Paige Sporanic was speaking up for her recently, being like, you go, girl, like you're a student athlete and you're playing within the rules and and now you've got basically a small business going for yourself. Like, why are we shaming anybody who's doing it this way? So now that game is there, I could see young people playing the long game. Cause I'll tell you what, college was fun. I don't know how rowdy y'all got at, where were you? UMass Lowell?
West Virginia Wesleyan. Could it be further away from UMass Lowell?
Close enough. West Virginia Wesleyan. Where is that?
Yes. Buckhannon, West Virginia.
Besides West Virginia. Buckhannon?
Buckhannon, West Virginia is an hour south of Morgantown at WVU, and it's about like an hour and a half, 2 hours north of Charleston.
So it's just outside of bumfuck Egypt.
Yeah, it's out there.
What is there to do? What's the big scene in West Virginia Wesleyan?
Walmart.
What?
Walmart.
I'm talking about like to go out and
Walmart.
All right, let's tee this up a little bit differently. It's Friday afternoon. You got out of class. Yeah. Your boys, you're all texting, hey, we're going to go hit up
Walmart.
Really?
No,
would it be like a parking lot party? Would you go in and like buy booze and like sit on tailgates and shit and just crank beers?
Some people did. I never actually drank in that parking lot, but like
probably a smart move.
And there's, there was for me.
I'm not judging anybody who's drinking a Walmart parking lot. Guilty.
But like I love those like small towny like dive bars. Like, so there's obviously plenty of those. Like that's where we'd go. There's pool hall, but there wasn't like if we wanted to like go out like the real big college scene, we drive the hour north to Morgantown. And we hit all the clubs around WVU. What is that noise? Is that noise coming from me?
It was your past creeping up on you.
But yeah, so but in the town of Buckhannon, it was a couple small bars and like just really hanging out at like at frat houses? And
I'm a college town junkie. Like I grew up in Tallahassee, which is the state capital, but it's a huge Florida State town. Both my sisters went there. And then I went to University of Georgia. Athens is dope. My sister actually went to West Virginia. She played tennis there for a year before transferring to Florida State.
Oh, okay.
No, but I chuckle because this weekend, specifically back in college, this weekend would be one of those for a lot of folk. You would go home and then, reconnect with everybody, and they would call it like locals night. And by the way, I'm not turning my nose up at Buckhannon. Is it Buckhannon or
Buckhannon? Yeah. Oh, it's a beautiful small little town. Like it's
and I'm sure it's got I'm sure it's got some charming bars. I mean, places that were popular in towns where I went were called like Balls and Grog and Salty Dog. And,
no, these were like the Whistle Stop or like I'm trying to think of something like they were like little just simple things.
When Uptown Funk and stuff. So anyway, because college football, I mean, but then this is the weekend for rivalries. I mean, this weekend used to kind of mean a lot more. It means a lot with the Michigan Ohio State game coming up. But Florida State, when I grew up in Tallahassee, that was always, there were some stakes on it. Now it's like, oh God, I feel you could not pay me to watch that game. And I probably know people who are going to be there, but humble brag. But that's the big thing south of the border. Thank you, sir. Somebody was trying to shit on Boxing Day the other day. They didn't understand that it was a thing. And I was like, there are other people in the universe that have holidays and they recognize things. Don't ask me what it is. I just know that it's like a thing.
Yeah.
And I was trying to be respectful and open-minded about that. So
fair enough.
This is always reunion weekend. This is always rivalry weekend. Outside of the Michigan Ohio State game, which the winner's going to pretty much punch their ticket to the college football playoff. I think if Georgia beats Georgia Tech and finishes 12-0, they can go to the college football playoff too, because they did it last year where they lost to Alabama in the title game, but they were 12-0, so they got in. If they lose to LSU and Brian Kelly, it would have to be sillingly embarrassing to not get in. So, I mean, you got your Big Ten champ, you got Georgia. Again, if everything goes chalk. Outside of that, USC out of nowhere. And this is your college football catch-up 101, Andrew, because it's actually getting into bowl season. And if you think we're going to talk about NFL nonstop, you're fucking crazy. Although I do want to get into the AFC beast in the East. So going into last weekend, USC was an outside long shot kind of, but Tennessee absolutely got slaughtered at South Carolina, which is a pretty cool story. Spencer Rattler down there at South Carolina, hot shit coming out of high school. He was the thing. And then he goes to Oklahoma, goes 11-0 first year. And then they get tripped up, and then he just kind of stumbles a little bit more, ends up losing his job at Oklahoma to the eventual starter at USC, Caleb Williams, who followed Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma out to USC. And now all of a sudden, once again, there's Georgia's old foe and Lincoln Riley in the playoff, knocking on the door. If they can beat Notre Dame this weekend in a primetime game, then all they have to do is dispatch of, the Ducks or whoever. I think it's the Ducks, either the Ducks or the Utes. I don't know who's playing the Pac-12 title game. Point being, there could actually be some blue bloods in this Final Four, which is going to be the second to last Final Four, and they go to 12 teams. Yeah. How much of this is news and or interesting to you, since you did go to the...
All of it is news. Well, not all of it. Like 80% of it is news. And about the other 20% is interesting.
Wow, 20%.
I just don't get up crazy for college football. I don't know why.
Not?
Like I honestly wish I could. And I bet you if I wholeheartedly cared about a bigger college football team other than Boston College, then I'd be up. I would get up for it, because I am a fan of whatever I am a fan of, and when I'm a fan of something, I go stupidly all in on it. I just don't have a draw to a team out there in college football.
And that's fair. I never played a down of football in my life. My whole thing is, I think with the NFL, I get complacent when your team. Listen, 3 weeks ago, you were over there being like, "No way in hell, Pats are never going to make the playoffs." We're fucking, dude. I like it. Hold on to that. Die on that hill. You die on that hill of pessimism. And week one of wild card game, whenever they're going to go out somewhere and get slaughtered, you get to say nothing. I get the microphone for an hour, and I do nothing but Bud talks the Patriots. No, but we'll see. I don't think they're going to make it because they do have Murderers Row coming up as far as the schedule is concerned.
Yeah.
But then again, is it not something like a walk-off pick six? Is that, I know it wasn't technically a walk-off. They had to kick off. There's like 6 games.
It was a punt return, but
whatever. Yes, it was a punt return. Is there anything?
It's actually the first punt return of the season for the whole league, I believe. I thought I heard that. I heard that on the broadcast or another broadcast. I think it might have been the first punt return of the NFL this year.
Is that not how a season gets turned around, though? Is that not like the play that somebody's sitting there in their scarf being like, and we got to remember people are writing them off heading into Thanksgiving, and
we'll see how they do this Thursday night against the Vikings. 8-1 Vikings or 9-1, whatever they are.
8-2, and they're
8-2. That's right. They lost. That's right. They got smoked.
Yeah, I was gonna say lost is. I think this is, if you're gonna have to play an 8-2 team, this is when you want to play them.
Sure.
I don't think they're so freaking good that they're gonna bounce back off.
I thought they were a fake 8-1 team to start at, like, going into last week anyway. So,
and I gotta say, the love of my life. I understand why she went to the mat a couple weekends ago at the bar when some guy started chirping about Kirk Cousins, saying that he was the best quarterback in the league at the time. And she was like, yeah.
The funny thing was, I saw you post that.
I mean, she's not wrong. I understand if this injustice will not stand, and you have to at least advocate for what's right in this world. Funny thing is, I was like, so who were you trying to suggest as an alternative? She's like, nobody. I just wasn't going to let him say Kirk Cousins was it. And I'm like, that's
exactly. That's all.
That's fair. Because raise your hand if you thought Geno Smith would be the BSD on the West Coast.
Everybody put their hands down right now because nobody said it.
And I think one of the most interesting, because we're kind of at this halfway point. We're beyond the halfway point, or we just did turn it, right? Because now we're at 17 games.
So it just turned around. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're like, we've looped around. We're on our way back, and not a year ago, a couple months ago, Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't even in the facility at 49ers camp. He was in no meetings. He was probably out somewhere with a supermodel or whoever the hell he wanted to be with, and loving life. And I just think it's super fascinating that you get a guy, and I'm, by the way, I was listening to DP's show as I was doing the dishes earlier, so I was catching it up on today. And that's where this seed got planted, because they were talking about how, could it be one of those weird anomalies that he's like 31, which I know is not exactly ancient, but that's not exactly spring chicken in the NFL, right? People like their quarterbacks nice and moldable, 24, 25, get him on that first contract. And maybe
he's 31 with multiple injuries too, which is going to make him come off older than he is.
But he's only started like what, 55 or 60 games. So he's also not, I know he's got those injuries, but he also hasn't taken the beating. So that you factor that in, and I don't know, man. Could we've got a couple of nice youngsters, and could there rekindle a flame where it's like, I mean, nobody's paying Jimmy G, Aaron Rodgers, or Kyler Murray. He's going to get whatever whatever the bargaining contract says he should get, right? I mean, I think that's one thing people don't understand. It's not all just a free for all. There are some basic rules. If you've been in the league X amount of times and done this and done that and blah, 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 there's a certain price, because you can't just say, I'll do it for way cheap, because then that screws up the whole market for people trying to do it fair.
So there are some minimums and whatnot.
Right. And he's going to get it, and then a little bit something, because he has been to a Super Bowl and he's won one or two as a backup. So he could be, I mean, he knows it. He gets it. I don't know if it was just a Tom Brady thing the last time around, where maybe they picked him up and it was like, here's our future. We know Tommy's on his way out. And Tommy's like, the fuck did you say? Get rid of this guy. Like, I'm not going anywhere. So, because it wasn't like it was it wasn't like it was a real, animus driven departure. It wasn't exactly not awkward, but it wasn't like it was it wasn't a free for all in a food fight. So
no,
I don't know, man. I don't think it's too far out there. We just don't spend like that. And I think if you're going to ask Belichick and Patriots, who do you want for the next, even just 5 years, Mac Jones or Jimmy G? What if we haven't seen Jimmy G? At
the end of last year, it would have been Mac Jones. Right now, I think some people would change their mind to Jimmy G.
Say it again.
I said right now, if it had been the end of last year, the answer would have been Mac Jones over Jimmy G for the next 5 years because of the promise he showed. But if we're answering that question right now, I think it might be back to Jimmy G.
I wasn't questioning you. My work computer was disconnecting from my headphones, and so it went blank for a second. Yeah, I think it's funny because I love Jimmy G. I think he's a fascinating story. I loved when he was drafted because I not coming from a blue bloodish Big Five program. I think he was like Northern Illinois or some shit. The Salukis or Southern Illinois,
something like that. Yeah.
It was just kind of one of those, you got to trust the process, and he turned out to deliver, and he's strikingly handsome. So it'll be fun to watch them coming down the stretch. Mostly because the Rams are just not doing anything. The world is falling apart.
Well, they just released Darrell Henderson today. So now it's just Cam Akers and the rookie Kieran Williams, who just came off IR. So we're gonna see what they're made out of there without Cooper Kupp now too. So the Rams are gonna be an interesting watch the rest of the way to see how they handle this.
God, I'm happy for Matthew Stafford. I'm glad he got his Super Bowl. I'm not writing his eulogy just yet, but let's be honest. He's taking some shots this year. He's got a wife and 57 kids to think about. And then there's the kids. Then there's the kids that he doesn't know about from his partying days. No, he was a fun guy to have at Georgia. I had just graduated, and then here comes this gunslinger from Texas. We're like number one in the country and all that kind of stuff. I think people forget he never did. I mean, I think we went like 10-2 one year with him, but with him and Noshawn Moreno, and it was a team that nobody. It was one of those weird teams where we had 2 close losses, and it was before the playoff. And at the end of the year, we finished, I think, 3rd, and it was like nobody wanted to touch them at that time, but it was still just unheard of to put a 2-loss team. And then, ironically enough, the next year maybe LSU wins with 2 losses.
Hey, it is what it is. But hey, before we go too far away, because we do like to touch on local stuff here. No, just we'd like to touch on some local stuff here. And it's brought up rivalry week, and obviously Thanksgiving is massive high school football time of year rivalries. Have you caught on to the local news? I know this one's a bit hometown for me because I went to Lowell High School up here in Lowell, but their opponent in Haverhill, longtime Thanksgiving opponent, Haverhill High School, forfeited the rest of their season because of a hazing incident. They were caught hazing the player, or the players are caught hazing the players. So they had to forfeit the Thanksgiving game. Lowell was left without a Thanksgiving game. They've luckily found an opponent in, I think, Hampton, New Hampshire. But just a local story here because, obviously Lowell's one of the bigger high schools up around here, and just for it's one of the longer rivalries in the state as well between them and Haverhill. Haverhill.
Wow.
Little hazing incident here locally. So
that's wild.
A little local news if anybody's watching. That's go Lowell against Hampton, whoever you are. I don't know what the Hampton, New Hampshire's mascot is, but
I'm gonna need to see the report on this. I
read into it. It's interesting.
Well, and also because there are some. I mean, hazing has some detrimental effect. I mean, and I don't want to belittle it or belie it, but I've also seen folks point at something and call it hazing or report it as hazing, where that's not hazing. I mean, it might be that. No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I want to see what this is. And by the way, if you forfeit the football game, that to me is all I need to see on the action from them to understand. Like, oh god, it was like, oh god, it was that. I'm just as a curiosity because I'm like, I mean, Jesus, back in the day, quote unquote. I don't want to put a start or an end date on it because I don't know what our demo is, quote unquote.
Yes.
But hey, I mean, it was some pretty cruel, awful stuff. It's born out of the idea of a crucible, right? If you can take a group of people and you put them through fire, they'll come out the other side forged and blah 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 and unified. I think it's almost like the same difference between comedy and bigotry, where there's a line where context, setting, and process matters versus just flat out doing something under the umbrella of, right? So we do see things like this. It was probably, especially if it was a football team, then I mean, I feel bad. I feel bad for whoever led this or whatever and thought that this was the right way to go about doing whatever their achieved end wanted to be. If it was just to be a mean person or put others through shame, then you're a bully and an asshole, and that's a whole other story.
Exactly.
If you were trying some time old traditions of unifying a group of individuals around a singular cause, Let's put away the old playbook and then maybe have them go volunteer to soup kitchen together or something. I come from an era of Greek life where I was on the tail end of, I was part of kind of this first wave of pledges that the entire system was trying to pivot because the year before there was some scary stuff that had happened. And so we didn't have it as bad, quote unquote, some of the other things. Yeah, well, they realized too, things like making people sleep in the basement for a week for Hell Week is stupid. Instead, it's, get your ass to the house at 6 a.m. and you go home at 8 p.m. like a regular person. Yes, it's the longer week and you have responsibility. So there's different things that go into it. I'm fascinated by the story just from that end. I thought you were going to talk about other local high school football news in New England, and shouts to the Oxford Hills Vikings in Maine, who topped Thornton Academy for their first single A football title. That's the high school my wife went to, my little brother went to. It's around the corner from where I lived in Otis Field and down the road from the camp where I worked. There we go. 26 minutes in, we got our camp reference. So there's our New England football. I'll tell you what, man, a buddy of mine, another camp reference. He lives in Bixby, Oklahoma, which is outside of Tulsa. And they were actually on ESPN2 a couple of weekends ago. I meant to text you because I know you're a big football guy, but their stadium holds he was sending me pictures. Their stadium holds 25,000. It's got a Jumbotron that's a third of the size of whatever's in Jerry's World in Dallas. It's the whole Varsity Blues and Friday Night Lights. Shit's real. There are towns like that, and
they exist
again. And I think there's a fine line between what's healthy and what's Varsity Blues. So shouts to the high school football programs out there getting her done. Shouts.
And since you brought it up, it is big Massachusetts State Championship weekend coming up here. So December 2nd, December 3rd. So I guess let's give a shout out to we'll just do the highest Division 1, Springfield Central versus St. John's Prep going for the state championship. So congratulations to those two schools.
Do they play that at Gillette?
They do. So there is, let's see, 1, 2, 3. There's 8 championships being played at Gillette between Friday and Saturday.
I mean, divisions. I think that's pretty dope. I mean, Florida doesn't really have a comparable place. They think they've been playing them in the Citrus Bowl down in Orlando forever, which is kind of like, it's cool that the Georgia gets to play in the Mercedes-Benz Dome. Texas plays them in Jerry's World. Yeah. I'll tell you where, if I was a high school football player, I would want to be. I want to say it's South Dakota. I want to say it's South Dakota State. Their field. It's like the Corn House or something like that. And I might be thinking of their basketball program, but there's, what is this? Now I got to figure this out.
It sounds like you're just making something up now. I don't know. The
I am. The cornfield basketball court.
It sounds, for some reason, it sounds more like a basketball arena than a football stadium.
It is.
Okay, that's what it sounded like too.
That's where I want to play, the House of Corn. Careful how you pronounce that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it's just a reminder. This is probably the biggest high school football weekend and week, excuse me, of the year. So just get out and enjoy, a couple, what are those high school games last? 2-3 hours max. Get out there and support a local team. They love that. A lot of these guys, they get up for the Thanksgiving game every year. That's the big shiny moment for them. So just get out there and show them some love. It'll go a long way. So if you're local, get out there and check it out. But should we get into some NFL quickly? I mean, we kind of started it already, but I know you want to talk.
Yeah, I want to circle back to the.
And then we'll circle into some Thanksgiving stuff.
I want to talk about NFL with you after I bring up the Corn Palace, which is commonly advertised as the world's only corn palace in Mitchell, South Dakota. So it looks like it's more of a convention center. Let's see here. Current tenants: Mitchell High School, go Colonels, of the South Dakota High School Athletic Association, and Dakota Wesleyan University, all hail Tigers.
I believe that is an affiliate of the same Wesleyan that I went to. They are all affiliated, I believe.
Annual powerhouse of the NAIA. So broke ground in 91. It was completed in 1921. They added a dome. So the city of Mitchell owns it. So the Corn Palace in Mitchell, that's where I want to go play a sporting event, whether it be basketball or darts.
Could be the most random statement you've made on this show. It could be.
It's going deep. That's going deep. All right, going back to the NFL, because I do think, I mean, as it sits right now, right, the entire AFC East numerically might qualify for the playoff.
So, well, I'd have to look again after this week's games, but coming into this past week, coming into Sunday this past week, yes, technically all 4 of the AFC East teams were in the playoffs. Now that the odds of that happening are very low.
I think it's happened once before. It was actually
it would be incredibly unlikely for it to happen, especially given the remaining schedule of them that they still have left to face each other. So, yeah, that there was no doubt in my mind that. Well, there was no thought in my mind, I should say, that all that was going to happen.
No.
Patriots do now sit in 3rd place above the Jets with 2 wins over the Jets, which is mathematically very important considering how close everything is. But I still don't see it for the Patriots. It's just that game.
I do.
Was so freaking boring.
Okay. Well, that's
it was
different.
A brutal, ugly game. But that's coming out of a bye week with rest, with time to game plan all you want. Like, that was just horrendous. I'm gonna
blame it on being rusty coming out of the bye week, coupled with the elements, and sprinkled with sometimes you don't bite the hand of fate. And really, I think the Jets. By the way, the Jets are done. They're done. I don't.
Well, yeah. Now that Zach Wilson might be out at quarterback, like that's.
And who's behind him?
So I believe it's Joe Flacco, I believe, and then after that it's Mike White.
Elite Joe Flacco.
They do carry 3 active quarterbacks. Mike White is the 3rd quarterback behind him.
When he's not an Uber driver. Who the hell is Mike White?
Mike White, I believe he used to play for WVU after Geno Smith played for WVU.
There you go.
I can find that out for you right now, but that's what I believe that he's not even like the first Mike White to show up on Google search.
I'm
sorry. He was a South Florida and Western Kentucky.
Hilltoppers, huh?
Yeah, he is football South Florida. Yeah. I don't know why I thought he played at. You know what? They had West Virginia WVU had a receiver, didn't they? White. They had another guy whose last name was White.
Pat White was a quarterback there who could sling it back in the day.
No, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Maybe I'm thinking of Pat White. That's what I'm thinking of. It's Pat White. Yeah. So yeah, Mike White he's somewhere on the Jets roster right now. So we'll see if it's most likely if they go away from Wilson here, it's going to go to Flacco, just because the team seemed to respond to Flacco early in the season, so they at least have that to go off of. But Flacco is still Joe Flacco.
Elite Joe Flacco, Super Bowl winner. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. The happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving,
Captain Lou.
Synchronized and all.
Just like you gotta have a Lou in your life. Just like a stew, you gotta have a Lou. Everybody gotta have a Lou. And I'm glad that you're our captain. I just love that Zach Wilson, when asked if he bears any, does he owe the defense an apology? No.
I'm starting to really think that he's just a toxic player because he's so arrogant. He really doesn't think he's to blame for anything on that team right now. At least that's the way he's portraying himself in the public. I don't know what he is behind the closed doors, but it feels like it's very obvious that the players aren't necessarily behind him.
So you want to hear kind of a little devil's advocate on why he said no instead, as opposed to ego. And this is a stretch. It's a little thin, but I heard it and I thought it's not outside the realm of possibility. Knowing his place in the sense of it's not my place to owe anybody an apology here yet, not because I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't earned the right to stand up in the locker room and say, this one's on me, fellas. Like, I'm not there yet. I need to keep my head down and just do my business. And just in that moment of like, no, I don't owe anybody an apology. I just got to get back to work. That's the only thing I can think of, because there's no objective way he can look at that performance and be like, nah, did great. I mean, shoot, we got 3 points. Why'd they have to give up 3 points? This isn't soccer, bro. Like defenses go to the Hall of Fame. Not literally all defenses, but
I think
you have Hall of Famers hit the defense who lead a 3-point average defense. So it's there, it's possible, but I think he's just in over his head. I think he's a really good looking kid who's been told how great he's been. He went to South Dakota State, and I think they went undefeated. And he was kind of in that vein. Whoever was the big guy who was right before him, I can't remember. Well,
God, South Dakota State. That's
who's the BSD? Allen. No, he was at Montana.
Allen? No. Yeah, it was wasn't it Carson Wentz or something?
Yes. So anyway, you get told how great you are, and he wouldn't be the first one. I mean, shit. It's like it's basically a tradition and a pastime for the Jets to have a hyped quarterback.
Pretty much, yeah. That's just what they do.
Just Google butt fumble.
But for once, they right now actually have the team around said quarterback to where they could be winning. The defense is good. They have talent in the receiving core that's good. They have a talented tight end right now in Tyler Conklin. You know, if Breece Hall hadn't gotten hurt, he was going to be a premier running back this year. Like, they had every piece except for the quarterback at this point. And
so
I think
who? Go ahead.
So I was gonna say, I think that surprised the Jets as far as their planning goes. I think people, I don't want to say people. I think guys on that team that they thought were going to take another year or two to develop, have just shown up and shown out, and they're just ahead of schedule. And Zach Wilson is probably behind schedule at this point.
Yeah, but he's doing really well off the field. Yeah. So who is in the driver's seat then for the AFC writ large? Is it the Dolphins?
I
mean, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. And by the way, Patrick Mahomes, like, is it even fair at this point? It's so
the AFC looks so different than everyone expected it to be, because everyone thought that the division we'd be talking about, potentially 4 teams in the playoffs, would be the West, you know, between the Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, and Broncos. And the Broncos just blow. The
Broncos
Raiders,
Nation, let's ride.
Blow. The Chargers have even disappointed. Now, granted, the Chargers have had a ton of injuries, and they've been doing the best they can overcoming those injuries, and they're finally getting guys back now. So we'll kind of really start to see a true Chargers team, but I still don't think they're at the level that we thought they would be, even if they were healthy. So this whole AFC looks wild. The fact that Miami does look like one of the stronger teams right now is wild. But yeah, no, I think it's simply still the Bills and the Chiefs at the top, and we'll kind of see how it shakes out from there.
I mean, it has that Patriots, Colts, Manning, Brady kind of feel to it, where for a handful of years there, you know, we all know where this is going, but we're going to play it out anyway.
Yes.
Josh Allen, even though he is a gigantic human, he still is not exactly friendly with his body. So he's injury prone in that regard.
He's hurt right now, and he's playing with fire with that UCL injury in his elbow.
Right. And if he goes, so goes their lofty position on high.
Yeah.
With the Chiefs, and I go back to Patrick Mahomes, when he signed a half a $1 billion contract, at first I thought to myself, like, here we go again. You know, now we're a couple years into it. He's got a Super Bowl. He's in the AFC title game pretty much every year. Mm-hmm. I like the kid a lot, and I do think it's going to be fun to watch him and Josh Allen go at it, you know, back and forth for the next few years.
Oh yeah, it's going to be good football.
If Allen can stay healthy, he's one, like you nailed it. He's one ligament away. He's one failed slide. He's one, you know, like dude, RG3 looks great in a suit right now on the sideline, and he's not that old.
To give you an idea of this injury currently right now for Josh Allen, this UCL tear or partial tear or whatever it is, it's basically where he could technically probably have if not Tommy John surgery, a similar surgery. Like if he was a pitcher in the major leagues, he'd be getting surgery regardless at this point. And he's basically playing currently and going to be playing the rest of the year, when he does play, hopped up on pain meds, shots, whatever they do in that area. And I just feel like that's, like you said, it's going to take one awkward slide or one, you know, maybe he tries to do one of those sidearm throws or something, and it just twerks that elbow a little different, and it's going to turn into a massive issue. And they're playing with the future, because then all of a sudden that really pretty much pisses away this season. But now we're talking about, you know, what does the surgery recovery mean into even preparing for next season at that point?
I see that, and I just want to point out to anybody listening or paying attention, neither one of us are doctors or know what the hell we're talking about, and there probably are a lot of smart people who are saying, no, he's fine, he can play, and sure enough, your body will tell you when you can't.
Yeah.
Especially with Tua earlier this year, and people armchair quarterbacking and becoming Twitter doctors. You can't deny what you see, but at the same time, I do give all deference to the people, on the ground doing their jobs. And I maintain that if Josh Allen keeps playing the way he's playing, they'll make the playoffs, but he won't make it through or two. It's just, you got to start adopting the much more the Pat Mahomes mentality.
Yeah, he learned. He had to learn, and even to a point, Lamar Jackson has learned how to protect his body better compared to how he used to when he first started running around. So we'll see how it shakes out for Josh Allen. But the Bills' present and future definitely lies on Josh Allen's shoulders right now. I'm sorry, Case Keenum is a fine backup quarterback, but he's not going to come in and lead this team to a Super Bowl.
Case Keenum, fine backup quarterback.
Yeah.
LSU at number 5 in the latest college football playoff poll. That's interesting. So
I just saw that TCU is in.
Well, for now, that's the thing though, is they're at 4, which basically the committee is signaling this is how it's going to go down. The winner of Ohio State, Michigan is in.
Yeah.
If Georgia wins, then the winner of Ohio State, Michigan, or the loser is in as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because TCU they'll keep it 4. They will not let a 1-loss USC jump, and obviously LSU drops. I actually think they might. They would no. Actually, I'm gonna eat my own words now that I'm looking at it for the second time. Georgia wins, they're in. Obviously, the winner of Michigan Ohio State's in. So yeah, this is all gonna work out. I mean, TCU, if they lose, they're out. But if they win, they're in. I think that's what they say. They're not going to drop them after a win, and if they win out. They got 2 games left. They got whoever they got this week, which is rivalry week for them, and then the Big 12 title game. So I mean, There's a lot of work left to be done. I will say Georgia has probably the no, they don't. Everybody's got a bitch of a ride ahead of them. The winner of Michigan Ohio State is going to go play a powder puff from the other side. The Big Ten is a joke on the other end. I mean, I think it's like 5-4 or 5-3 Iowa's in the lead or some shit like that. Purdue's got a chance to get in there somehow. Right. It's more like a basketball tournament. The
Boilermakers.
TCU's got their challenge ahead of them. USC, it's gonna be fun. Georgia, obviously, for reasons that are obvious, I'm super biased. That's my team. That's where I went and everything. They can win with a loss to LSU, because I think that's what would happen is if they beat Georgia Tech, then they could lose to LSU and they would drop from 1 to 4. LSU would probably jump from 4 to 3. TCU would drop. I don't fucking know. This is gonna be fun.
Well, and that's also
chaos, anarchy.
It is chaos and anarchy. But there's actually been some decent parity in college football this year, which is not always the case in these Alabama-driven years in the past. So I'll be there. I mean, I can sign up for that.
And in a couple of years, it's going to go to 12 teams. I think that's when you're going to really. I mean, you want to talk about parity? Then it's going to. I mean, that's going to be a whole lot of fun. I can't wait.
Now, do you think 12 is too much?
No, I think 12 is a great number. You got your Power 5 conferences, and so you got 5 of them. You got 5. You take your 5 conference champions, and I think actually what they're doing is they're extending it to 6. I don't know where that 6th conference is coming from, but it's going to be like the 6 conference champions, and then the next 6 highest ranked non-conference champions in the rankings. Sure. So and your top 4 get buys, I guess, and then those 8 play, and then you go blah 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 blah. And the first couple rounds, they use the existing bowl structure to build it in, and then go from there. So I'm excited about it. I don't think it's too many. I actually think it's the right number. I think 16 would be too many at this level. The 16, God, yeah. They do 16 at the FCS, which is one step down.
Yeah, well, because even at 12, though, I'm still
worried. They have a shorter season.
Like, I'm still kind of worried that even at 12, that there's gonna be a different, like, there's gonna be such a competition difference to where it's still almost not even gonna feel like championship football until we get to the Final Four, anyways. You know what I mean? Like, I'm worried that there's still going to be enough, disparity between the 12th ranked team and the 5th ranked team or whatever that are in the playoffs, to where it's not going to feel like anything different than just a regular bowl game or just a regular college football Saturday until we're down to the Final Four, anyways.
So, do you think maybe 8 is a better number?
Maybe I think I think 8 is where you'd all that's all anybody has ever really been asking for. I feel like, because everybody's really just paying. And that's the thing, because when they say that someone got snubbed, it's always just the 5th or 6th team, because those are the ones that really only have a shot at winning the national championship, anyways. If we're being honest, so that's what I'm worried about. That those 4 extra teams at 12 is just going to be like, I don't know, like charity entries.
So do you do the same thing to March Madness?
March Madness is different. The way it is, with the way teams get hot and the way basketball is played compared to the way college football is played, I feel like it's different, because I feel like there's actually a legitimate chance in basketball for upsets, more so than there is in football.
I don't see that. I don't know why there would be more of a chance for upset in one sport than the other. I get the point I'm making is what you're saying is like, yeah, the numbers 12 through 9. We all know that these teams aren't going to be able to actually break. Well, that's the same thing with team, all the 15 and 16, 14.
Fair enough.
What's the highest seed to ever win the tournament, right? So
yeah,
you just
go.
So using that logic, on the inverse of that, I mean, is obviously without those outliers, you will never have a Cinderella, right? You will never have a Butler where maybe that last second shot actually goes in against Duke.
Sure.
Say
the tournament was only 8 teams, and if a number 8 team won, would you not consider that like a Cinderella? Oh, would it depend on the team and how big of the team is, like nationally? I guess that would play a role in it too. It might seed wise feel like a Cinderella.
No, I think
let's say it's like Georgia, who's the 8th seed, and they upset. Maybe that wouldn't feel as big of an upset because it's Georgia.
I think if you're from a Power 5 conference and you're in the top 8 seeds, you're not a Cinderella. I don't care if you're Vandy. Like, that it doesn't matter. I think you nailed it with that number. Is you have to be 9 and above to be a Cinderella. You heard it here first, folks.
Sure.
And a lot of that's going to unfold over this weekend. Again, these rivalry games. I'm sitting here. I'm not looking past Georgia Tech. Those nerds in Atlanta know what they're doing. And when they still kind of run a triple option, which is a weird look. You don't see it all season. Then you get one game. You do have this big national televised, possible blah, blah, blah. You can get caught staring ahead. I think Kirby has his troops in line, a la Saban, a la Belichick, that they're not going to look past. I think they want to, and for these players, these rivalry games do kind of mean a little extra. They do get up for a quote unquote state championship, even though they've got bigger things to play for next week, because they also understand that if they win this state championship, then next week gets even bigger, right? Like it does build. And so it's going to be
Sorry, keep going. Talk myself.
No, it's gonna be a fun weekend to kind of pay attention to these rivalry games. Look at Oklahoma. They came up and beat the dog piss out of Oklahoma State last weekend. Coming out of unranked, and so anything can happen. Anything can happen in sports. No, but it's true. Anything can happen in these rivalry games, because once you're anything is possible. Once you're playing nothing but pride, you got nothing to lose.
Yeah. No, I was just quickly looking up what Georgia Tech's record is, because I had no clue. Of 5-6 on the year.
Yeah,
so
and
we'll see. But
I don't even know where the game is. I know it's a noon kickoff along with the Michigan Ohio State game. So your boy will be doing split screen duty.
It's at Georgia.
Oh, good God!
So
I weep for the nerds.
Weep for the nerds. But hey, we only got like 10 minutes left here, and we haven't even talked Thanksgiving yet. It's obviously the topic of the week here. What are you doing for Thanksgiving? Like, does your family do big Thanksgivings?
So actually, growing up, I moved around a bunch, and so I didn't have my extended family was all over the country, and so Thanksgiving was just my house. And so, no, we didn't have like big family gatherings. We just had big meals. And one of the staples in my family, a tradition is it's a wild rice stuffing. So it's black long grain wild rice.
Okay.
That is basically, and it's super easy to make. Get a pound of Jimmy Dean sausage, like good fatty sausage. Yep. Cook that up, scrape the sausage out, but leave the fat in there, and then you cook some chopped up or some diced celery and diced onion, cook that up for a while, scrape that out in that same pan with all the juices and the grit stuff. You put in 48 ounces of chicken broth and your wild rice, and you cook the wild rice in the chicken broth for like an hour. And then you add in all the other stuff, and then you reheat that in the oven. Best stuffing known to man.
Okay.
So that is the closest thing I think I've come to like a family tradition in my family. But I do have in-laws that are 2 hours away, and yeah, the whole family gets together up there. So we're heading up Thanksgiving morning to schlep up and, smile and see the family, which I'm excited now that Cooper's old enough to kind of recognize what's going on and who's who. Yeah. 2 years ago, or even right before, I'd have been, oh God, it is the bane of my existence to make this drive. Not because I don't like these people, just I don't like the ritual of it all. Yeah. But having kids, it changes it all. What about yourself? Where are you going to be? So this is what the people want to know about.
Oh yeah, I'll be at my aunt's house. I'll be in Methuen. Methuen. My family used to do it real big. Like we used to have, when I was a kid, there'd be like 25, 30 people for dinner, and then like another 15 to 20 would show up for dessert, and it would go all night. Awesome. It was freaking massive, and it was awesome just to sit back and watch as a kid. Obviously, throughout the years, things get smaller. It's a lot smaller these days, but still just as much of the tradition. It's fun. So I get my kids to come with me this year, so I'm excited about that.
That's gonna be a lot of fun. Pat's is the night game too. I like going on a short week, but I do like having that to look forward to all day.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like I said earlier, we had Thanksgiving this year is going to have all day football. We also have the World Cup, and then we get to cap it off with an actual Patriots game too. So that's fantastic.
Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Saud.
I know, with a massive upset over Argentina. That was wild.
Wow. Are you like, I become a soccer fan once every other year, usually around the Olympics. But really, come on, it's a world sporting event. It's kind of like when the Ryder Cup comes up, people who have nothing to know about golf, they'll get down for an international.
Yeah, they'll wear the USA button-up shirt and head out to the course and cheer them.
I did not order my kit, quote unquote. For the World Cup.
The kit.
My World Cup kit.
You gotta put the boots on.
But fucking boots. But I was a little disappointed to see us not blow it, but essentially blow it the 82nd minute.
They blew it.
They did blow it.
It was a piss poor penalty and a piss poor spot. It was just dumb. It's just dumb.
I'm trying to sugarcoat it because we're not out of it. We're not out of it. I mean, if we can run up the score against Iran, which hopefully we can, but I mean, you never know. Shit.
We kind of need to with the way England ran up the score on Iran. Killing them the way they did. Like now, England is just in such control of the group now that we're not in the greatest position. Let's just say that.
So, because what's the tiebreaker? It's goals scored, right?
Goal score is like I think the top tiebreaker outside of anything involving wins or points.
Yeah, because if everything plays out now, I mean, hopefully England beats Wales, we beat Iran, and then we either tie or beat England. I mean, but at the same time, that's where the score comes into play. Because if
England looked freaking, they
looked like a powerhouse. You talking about Harry Kane?
They looked like a powerhouse in that game. And I know it was against Iran, but they looked like a powerhouse still.
Freaking should. Perennial.
Just if you watch the way they moved and played, like their form, they were just in sync. And you know what? France started off looking terrible today. They were down 1-0 early to Australia, and then they turned it on. And I'll tell you, the rest of the match that I watched, they were starting to toy with Australia. The final score, I think, was 4-1. So they didn't necessarily go out and win 6-2 like England, but with the ease they were moving the ball around, and they were kind of trying to do, nutmegs through the legs and all these like crazy like bicycle kicks and whatnot. They were out there and they knew they could do whatever they wanted.
All I give a shit about is let them drink beer. Don't renege on some of these deals. I mean, Budweiser, good luck. Well, good luck suing the royal family of Qatar.
But you know what? Budweiser pivoted. Did you see how they pivoted?
No.
So they've now said that because they had all these plans. They obviously had a massive amount of alcohol ready to go.
Right.
So they've now pivoted to whatever country wins the World Cup, they're going to be throwing a massive party for that country using all of that stock that they set aside for the World Cup, basically.
There we go.
So,
that quite frankly is going to get them a lot more PR than any contract could buy. I would still go after, for a breach of contract or whatever.
Yeah, but you do that quietly behind the scenes, then you let this story of the way you pivoted be the forefront of the PR.
Yeah, there's no statute.
It's handled perfectly that way.
We're talking about like international business law and what court is this going to get argued in and all that kind of shit. So timing is not of the essence here. No. It's going to take a while for that to get figured out, but it bothers me. It bothers me to do that to some of these people who traveled, around the world, spend thousands and thousands of dollars to look at somebody and say, oh, you're not going to have a beer for a few hours. You'll be fine. You can still go drink afterwards in the fan zone and over here, maybe not really though. I mean, you talk to some of the journalists you read some of the journalists that are on the ground to say like, it really is as tight as they make it out to be. Like, don't mess around here. Like they're not going to have it when the cameras are on and the bright lights are on.
Oh, but I've even seen fan videos out there of like the way that they're like being watched. Like I feel like it would be almost uncomfortable to be there. Like I'm sure in the stadium, like it's whatever. Like in the stadium, I'm sure it feels more like what it's supposed to feel like. But it's more so for me. The walking around outside the stadiums is where I don't know how I'd feel. I feel like I'd feel a little uncomfortable.
You know what? This thing on FIFA needs to pay attention to the words that are about to come out of my mouth. The serious shitstorm that they've created by putting the World Cup here for whatever check this country wrote is proving to be, by the way, tournament's going to continue. They're going to crown a champion.
Oh, of course. Yeah. The soccer's going to win out here for a little bit.
The bigger picture is look what you're doing when you do this kind of BS and we do single it out. I have a proposal. If you're going to pick a host site every year, change this up and make it a true international World Cup. Make pool play gets hosted by the number one seed of that pool. All right. Ooh. So you have 16, whatever, there's 16 pools out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So similar to March Madness in that way where there's different.
Yeah, literally, because that's what I'm thinking about. March Madness just announced that they're like their next 4 sites, 26 through 30, and Vegas is on there, baby. Hello Allegiant Stadium.
That's gonna be dangerous.
But that's what got me thinking of like, but they're not playing all 64 games in and around Vegas.
Well, and to be fair, the World Cup is spread out. I mean, well, in this case, in Qatar's a smaller country, so
that's my point. It's the size of my thumb.
Closer, but like when it's here in the U.S. in 2026, like it's going to be across the entire country. It's Vegas to Gillette.
Well, it's not even just the
Dallas
U.S.
or whatever. They're going Canada and Mexico too. Yeah,
it's like the Americas they're calling it, or like the World Cup.
Yeah, so that's going to be a little bit closer to what you're thinking. But I get what you're saying. Have it literally spread out in all the countries, which could solve a lot of time zone and prime time viewing issues as well,
because that's how the qualifying happens anyways, right? Like there's different federations and different geographic designations that you kind of say we're a country in this part of the world, so we're going to go try to qualify over here and over there. Okay,
so
cool.
Here's an even bigger set. Leave it so even you let the federations host a group, so the different federations be in charge of hosting one of the groups.
If your team wins.
No, I'm not even saying like leave it up to like the number one seed. Like let one of the federations host a group.
Each of the participating federation gets to.
Which obviously fine. I don't think there's as many federations as there are groups, or at least to the level that would be able to host a group stage World Cup.
And this all came out of because I could stomach if Qatar was hosting or Qatar or Qatar. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one's right either.
I heard a montage earlier of somebody and they played 7 different. It was from around the world. 7 different pronunciations, which I thought was pretty funny. I can stomach their whole, like, all right, when you're in our country, you're going to abide by our rules. But if this really is a global event and you really are, especially with some of the extra quote unquote baggage, and that's the nicest word I'm going to use about it, that surrounds it, that you do have to ask people to turn a blind eye or accept while they're your guest. Just because you're the host doesn't mean that, it makes it right, but your guests will respect the fact that they're there for now. So kind of meet them halfway. But FIFA, let's go to rotating pool play and then hosts for the Sweet 16 and on. That That would make me very happy. And I will say, as we close out this Thanksgiving week show, you sent out a tweet back in January, and I am grateful for you because I came out and said, I'm your Huckleberry. I still don't know what I'm doing.
Yes.
And
I didn't know where you were going for a second.
I appreciate you dealing with my ramblings, rantings, and ravings.
I love it.
And I'll take it easy on you next year with fantasy golf. But until then, thank you for everything that you've done in hosting this show and making sure that the fine people of the interwebs and the Spotify's and Apple podcasts get to us every week.
Well, and I appreciate you, obviously, because this show would be nothing without your rambling. So we need it all. And now that we're done patting each other's backs and giving each other a little woohoo, that's going to end our Thanksgiving. I can't do the fancy little. Yeah, no.
Neither can
sounds like Hannibal Lecter. But anyways, that's going to do it for us here tonight on Divots and Pivots. We will be back next Tuesday, as always, 8 o'clock here. If you haven't noticed already, a little change up here. We are not live on Twitter anymore. We are just live on YouTube, but the YouTube link is posted all out on Twitter, so be on the lookout for that. But find us on YouTube each and every week. We're gonna be there, and as always on BellyUp.tv. Shout out Belly Up Media as always. Always keep an eye out on what's coming out because there is some big stuff coming in the Belly Up Media universe over the next few months. So keep an eye out there. And yeah, enjoy your Thanksgiving, everybody. We wish you and your family the biggest blessings that we can. And we will see you next week on Divots and Pivots.